Yeah, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna talk some shit about compassion and forgiveness for a second. And I'm not sure if it's gonna win me many friends, but I think it needs to be said. Welcome to the Body Knows, where sometimes we just have to throw a grenade into the self-help space. Okay, listen. We have been taught that love is synonymous with kindness, that the path of the evolved human being looks like rising from the low vibrations of anger and hurt into high vibe altruism and serenity and a saint-like ability to always turn the other cheek. And yes, sometimes that is true, but sometimes in order to have the lives, the relationships, and very importantly, the democracies that we want, we need to stop being so damn nice. We need to stop sanctifying nice above everything else. Yes, I am saying we have officially overdosed on love and light, and we need some truth and transformation. We need to embrace the wisdom and the sacredness of the dark goddess. Okay, before you get your panties in a knot, no, we are not talking about demons and evil and like summoning Satan on a podcast. We're talking about dark in the Jungian sense, the parts of consciousness that have been villainized because of cultural conditioning and the evolutionary drive to belong and the need to keep your job, all of that. And in our society, and especially for women in our society, that means our wildness, our power, our rage, our ability to destroy, and our sexuality. But in this episode, we are exploring what happens when you stop demonizing them and start seeing them as sacred. So instead of just repressing them, you can wield them responsibly. This is the teaching of the dark goddess, and damn, it is so juicy. Okay, so this is what we're going to get into. What the heck archetypal embodiment work even is. How the myths of dark goddesses like Lilith, Persephone, and Kali show us from ancient times that people understood that these more intense expressions and emotions could be sacred. The very important difference between expressing these wild aspects of self in harmful versus healing ways, how you can actually start working with these energies somatically through movement, through sound, and just, getting a little weird. And finally, why reclaiming your darkness is often the missing piece to helping you have the relationships you crave, the influence you crave, and maybe save society. I don't mean to be alarmist, but I'm pretty sure I'm not the only one that thinks something needs to give. Personally, I think it starts with the dark goddess. Okay, y'all, this is a great episode. I hope you enjoy it. I'm Leona Waller. You're about to meet my brilliant co-host, Anna Alley. Don't forget to like and subscribe wherever you're listening, and let's get into it. I don't remember why you were like, it's time to bring the dark goddess. I obviously didn't doubt it for a second.
It was your idea.
Was it?
Yes. Hold on, let me redo the text.
Wait, no. I know this time it was. No, like, it was like a month
Don't you
ago.
put this on me?
No, it was like a month or two ago, and you were like, everything we're doing at the Body Knows is actually just the dark goddess, so we should just own it.
Yeah, I'm sure I said that. Like, for me, like, so much of the dark goddess is, like, feeling at its core, and, like,
Mhm.
this is what somatics is like.
What does the dark goddess mean to you? I feel like you've come to it at a different way than I have.
Yeah.
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 Let's do it.
You see her? Wait, okay. Um, this is a follow-up to our last episode.
Yes.
I wanna throw that in here.
Yeah. It
Listen
will
to that
make a
one
little
too.
bit more sense if you watch the first one.
Yeah. We're sort of like diving into some uncharted territory as far as what we've released so far,
Yeah.
and that might be a nice little
Yeah.
toes in the water first.
Yeah, totally.
But so like dark goddess, what do we mean by that? First and foremost, we're talking about like archetypal embodiment work.
Mhm.
And so, we have this idea of archetypes. They represent a set thing of a feeling, a texture, a way of being,
Mhm.
fill in the blank.
Mhm.
Leona, archetypes, real quick. Classic archetypes.
Like Venus, Mars, Aphrodite.
Too far. More simple, more simple.
Oh, like the mother,
Yes.
the child. the
Yes.
crone, the witch, the wizard, like archetypes. I mean, if you Joseph Campbell archetypes are like these collections of personality traits that show up in stories and myths around the world. And they're all, no matter what culture, no matter what period, like the mother has similar personality traits, the father, the child, the fool,
The protector.
the protector, the witch, wizard, the trickster, blah, 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 like all of these characters. So basically, it has like become a shorthand of like you can just say the mother, and you know that that comes with all of these like nurturing, caring mama bear. It's like this way. I think of it as like a pattern in consciousness. Like we all have a part of ourselves that is very mothering and like motherly. And it's
Yeah.
just like a thread of consciousness. And that includes all of these qualities. We all have also a father, like regardless of gender. I'm a big believer that like you have a
Yeah.
version of yourself that's protective in like a nurturing, supportive way. And then you have a version of yourself that's protective in like more of a provider, more like structure way. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
just like archetypes are essentially a shorthand of saying like these collection of traits that seem to go together.
That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we've introduced this archetype of the dark goddess. And so first and foremost, especially because, we're coming from a Western culture world in America and like the witches weren't burned that long ago. When we say dark goddess, we don't mean evil. We don't mean malicious. We don't mean there are demons burning in hell because of the darkness, right? We're not talking about that type of darkness in the slightest.
No, we're not talking about evil. You're not talking about evil.
Nothing to do with evil, right? We're talking about what's in the shadows. We're talking about what's been hidden, what's been repressed, what's been forced into silence because of cultural conditioning and belonging and acceptance and
Mhm.
putting food on your table and keeping your job and
Mhm.
fill in the blank.
Yeah.
Um, these shadow parts of self. And Leona,
Mhm.
last episode you mentioned some classic psychological like Jung and Joseph
Mhm.
Campbell
Mhm.
um, pieces there. Can you say that again quickly?
Yeah, so nobody wants this. Sorry. Um, My mom was asking about the TV show I was watching.
I think we can
Great
edit
show.
these.
Uh, yeah, so Jung essentially coined the idea of the subconscious. It might have been Freud first, but, like, Freud had some weird shit, and Jung really
Let's not go down
crys
that rabbit hole.
yeah, Jung really crystallized it into something that's incredibly powerful. He coined the word shadow work, which
Yeah.
is just getting into the parts of self that are hidden in the shadows, that are hidden in the basement of our beings that we are unconscious of. And so you can think of this as like many people at this point are pretty comfortable with the idea of like inner child work. And so going and working with a part of self that is trapped at a younger age for whatever reason, until you bring consciousness to that, it is trapped in the shadow. It is unconscious. You might not realize that you have random times throughout your life, your day, your week, when you suddenly revert into a more immature, childish parts of yourself and you're more reactive, you're more emotional, you don't have the same ability to think clearly. So when we talk about the unconscious, there's a perfect example. The young part of you isn't evil. The young part of you isn't bad. Opposite, it really just wants love, but we all have parts of ourselves that we have shoved into the basement of our being. We've shoved into our unconscious. It's not that they stop existing, but it's that, like, so again, the example of the inner child, you might have an inner child that just gets really freaked out by the idea of abandonment. You had an early experience with the feeling of being abandoned. So when you pick up any feeling of abandonment, you get triggered into this inner child state, and suddenly you might be super clingy, you might be super aggressive and like lashing out, like just anything to try to make the abandonment not happen. And that's when we say like that part of self coming out sideways, because what the inner child really wants is confirmation that it's not going to be abandoned. So if you went into the inner child state and you were conscious of it, you could be able to say, "Hey, because you haven't responded to my text, I'm feeling abandoned and I want to check in and help that part of myself understand that I'm not being abandoned right now, even though that's what I'm feeling. So I don't need to lash out and I can ask for what I need." So this is what we say, like, when a part of self is in the subconscious and it's coming out sideways versus when a part of self, we're fully conscious of it. We are, the word conscious, like we are conscious. We are aware of our patterns. We're aware of what we really want and what we really need. We're able to do it in like a much more mature, open-hearted way. And so Jung, Freud a little bit too, Young, Joseph Campbell really helped us understand a lot of these patterns that were operating in our unconscious and sneaking out sideways and fucking up our shit.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, and I love, like, the journey you just took us on there of landing into being a whole and integrated self again.
Yeah.
There's all these different frameworks out there to work with shadow work, inner child
Mhm.
work, fill in the blank for the different ways we can do this. But the idea is like this inner child, there's like a fragmented part of self in some
Yeah.
way. And that part feels abandoned or at threat
Mhm.
of being abandoned.
Mhm.
And then this like stuff that comes out sideways. And the idea is, can we shine a light on these exiled parts of self and
Enlighten
re
it. Just
huh?
like enlighten it. Can we enlighten it? Can we
Lighten,
bring it into
yes,
the consciousness? Huh?
and then bring that back to our whole integrated sense of self, and then that's
Mhm.
then instead of reacting in these unconscious ways, we can respond from a place of maturity and respect and love and
Mhm.
etcetera. And so what we're introducing today is another framework.
Mhm.
And it's a framework that's a little different. A lot of these psychological frameworks that we love to work with, we've both done a lot of work with, are regimented and structured and, A plus
Based in Western science.
is C. Yeah, yeah, totally. And they're great introductory pathways into this. And
Mhm.
we want to offer another framework and pathway into shadow work and
Mhm.
embodiment and somatics
Mhm.
and archetypal embodiment
Mhm.
specifically.
Yeah.
This archetype of the dark goddess. Okay,
Mm.
dark goddess.
Mhm.
I just like want you to imagine as you're listening from your heart, from a deeply loving place, what does the dark goddess feel
Mm.
like? And she has many so we're gonna use we're gonna talk about this archetype, we're gonna say she does this, she feels that. Okay, we're gonna use some embodied imagining here, right? We're not, like, literally just don't freak out.
This is an aspect of consciousness, just like every archetype that we all have. This isn't a we're not talking about a real being. We're not
Mhm.
talking about men versus women. It's an
The dark
aspect of
goddess lives in all of
it
us.
lives she it whatever. She lives in all of us, and, I forgot what else I was gonna say.
No, that's perfect. It's yeah. So just stick with us here. This is we're going on an imaginary journey and using metaphor to
Mhm,
invoke something in the body.
mhm,
Um, okay, the
mhm.
dark goddess. So Leona and I, we've come full circle to Leona's question from like 15 minutes ago. We both came to dark goddess work differently, and Leona introduced the idea to me. And of course, initially I was like, "The fuck?" You,
I
you know,
didn't
'cause
know
my
that.
yeah, yeah, because my mind went to like evil and like darkness. I had like associated, being raised in this culture, associated darkness with evil,
Yeah.
and that's just like, post Christianity, etc. And um, but thankfully, Leona, kept at it in her Leona way, and I realized there was something here. Okay, so the dark goddess. So when I try to talk about it with people, I like to use like animalistic examples, um,
Mhm,
and it goes along with these words of of there's a wildness to the dark
Mhm.
goddess. There's an untamed, raw, primal, sovereign, like,
Mhm.
free self in the dark
Mhm.
goddess energy. It is instinctual, it is unapologetic, it is uncontained.
Mm.
Um, and so I like to imagine it like, we think of Leone used the word mama bear earlier.
Mm.
This is the dark goddess. This is one of
Mhm.
her faces is this protector energy, and, like,
Mhm.
when something comes in and threatens a mother's young, she's not gonna be like, "Oh, you sweet thing, hello, could you
"Oh,
please
you must have your own
that?"
trauma. I should forgive you, and then you'll stop trying to eat my babies."
Right, no, she's gonna growl. She's gonna raise her hackles and square up and be like, "Fuck no." And it's for the sake of what? For the sake of protecting what she loves the most.
Mhm.
For the sake of freedom, for the sake of
Mhm.
justice, for the sake of integrity and evolution and love, all
Mhm.
of these things. And it is love, right? It is I wanna like, then this is, like, the big thing here is we've been taught again in our Western world, like, love is equated to romance, which
Mhm.
in the end, if you look at all the movies and shows we watch, is also equated to, like, codependency and control and, like, all this
Yeah.
fucked up shit that's not
Abuse.
love. Yeah, no, totally. That's, like, Hallmark romance and, like and essentially I have to, like, change myself in some way to be lovable and accepted by this person. And the dark goddess is like, "Fuck no."
Mm-mm.
You are so lovable. There is nothing unlovable about you. Not only do I
Mhm.
accept you, but I love every single piece of you.
Yeah, I love your anger. I
Yes.
love your shame. I
Yes.
love the parts of you that disgust you. I love the parts of you that disgust everyone else. I love the parts of you that terrify everyone else. I love it, and I want more of it. Sorry.
No, that is it. Exactly, exactly. And she is the one that says, "I will not let you abandon your truth for a minute longer. I will not let you tolerate this harm for a minute longer. You are no longer allowed to play it small. You have so much to offer. I'm here to help you remember your power, your instinct, and your wisdom that lives in your body."
Mhm.
And man, she comes in with that, like, destroyer energy, right? She's like, "I'm going to burn this earth because it is seeded with illusion, it is seeded with untruth, and it
Mhm.
is time for the truth to grow. It is time for the truth to shine. It is time for your voice to no longer be
Mhm.
silenced. You are done betraying your needs and yourself, and I will raise this earth until you do so."
Yes. Oh,
Ah.
okay, I have to see if I can put this into words. This is like, um so it's essentially zooming out. So we're talking about the dark goddess. You can also talk about the light goddess. Generally call her the light feminine, dark
Mhm.
feminine, but whatever. Um, and that's much more like compassion, the gentle love, the gentle forgiveness. Like you can think Mary Magdalene, you can think Venus Aphrodite, you can think Gaia, Mother Earth. Um, and so Anna has alluded to this, like Mm, there's one version of love, a love that requires you to cut off parts of yourself, a love that requires you to play small, and then there is a much bigger love that I like to
Yeah, but oh, sorry, leave me
no, do it.
alone. I don't think love would ever require you to play it small.
Well, this is an understanding of love. I don't think this is real love,
Okay,
but
okay, okay, I'm with you, I'm with you.
yeah, but
I feel like we
I think that this is like I mean, we've all been there where we love someone and so we abandon ourselves.
Yes.
This isn't love with a capital L, but this is a version of love that if you're only working with energies, archetypes, following myths of women who are selfless and just gave themselves away, you could come to think that love is always self sacrifice, that love is always playing small, that love is always crossing your boundaries
Yeah,
in order for this higher good.
yeah.
And that, like, self-sacrifice can be an incredible form of love. But just a little bit. Just a little. It's down here. And
Mhm.
then there's all of this love that honestly, I think many people have when they hear the word love, they think it has to be soft, they think it has to be tender, they think it has to be kind, they think that it has to place the feelings of the other person, and specifically, like, the shallow feelings, the short-term feelings of the other person above all else. Like, "Oh, I made them comfortable. I made them okay. I didn't tell them anything hard." Like, I know for a very long time, I thought that's what love was.
Yeah.
And then there's all of this huge territory that's like, "I love you so much, I'm not gonna let you bullshit. I love you
Yes.
so much, I'm not gonna let you play small. I love you so much, I'm not gonna let I love me so much, I'm not gonna let you walk over me. I love
Yes.
this earth so much that I'm not gonna let you get away with this, polluting and making endless plastic products." There's, like, a love that is ferocious. There is a love that's, I would say, obsessed with this idea of liberation versus comfort. Some love, we get confused with making other people comfortable. That's
Yeah.
only a tiny part. There's love that's, I want to set the world free. I want everyone in this planet to have an equal chance to love and happiness and comfort and ease and everything they need to flourish. And that is like a liberatory love that will fucking rip
Mm.
shit apart. And that is what we lose when we only look at the light side. That's what we lose when we only look at light archetypes. And there's so much love, and there's so much possibility, and there's so much liberation and truth. Like, I I haven't found a good word for this, but, like, some people say love light. For me, I say love liberation. Like, if it doesn't feel like liberation, it's not a form of love that I want. If it's a love that feels like I have to play small, if it's a love that requires me to sacrifice my values to keep my mouth shut, that's not a love that I want. I want liberating love. And that is where I feel like the dark goddess holds an embodiment for us in
Mm.
love that liberates and love that allows us to be bigger and freer and wilder and more outspoken and more ferocious and more just like rooted in what we care about and unapologetic the entire way.
Yes, 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 and, like, what I'm hearing you say is if we're only focusing on the light aspects and not giving space, room, energy toward the dark aspect, there ends up being a distortion that comes in.
Yes,
There's this distortion of love, and we're calling it love, but it's not love.
it's
It
not love.
is a suppression of your own wildness. It is a demonization of your sexuality. It is a fear of your intuition. It is a love that feels like obligation. It is
Yeah.
manipulation. It's a shrinking of yourself. It is a betrayal of your needs and your path.
Yeah.
It is performance. It is
It's
being a good girl in a cage.
Yes, it is self-abandonment and self-sacrifice
Yeah.
in order to win approval.
Yeah, and so this distortion comes in, and we talked about this a bit on our last episode as well about, if you're not integrated in your lower chakras, and what do we mean by that? Your sense of safety, your sense of belonging, your ability to feel, and your
Mhm,
ability, like, to do in this world. Um,
mhm.
like, where that all comes from and that low grounded, like, "This is the ground I stand on. These are my values. This is what matters to me," and acting from there and rising into the heart from there.
Yeah,
Missing a foundational part of this.
yeah,
Yeah.
and that's why we love the dark goddess.
Yeah.
Because in our own ways, like, we both have, I mean, I don't think it's uncommon for people in society, especially for women, to have an experience of like, "Ooh, I made myself really, really, really small because I thought that was gonna be how I earned love. That's how I thought I was gonna find everything I wanted, was by becoming the perfect woman, by wearing the right clothes, saying the right things, laughing at the right jokes, having the right
Mhm.
personality, the right traits." Like, I remember this moment in high school. I read a manga because I was a nerd, and, like, I just modeled myself after the main character of this manga, who was just, like, cripplingly nice. And I was like, "Yeah, this is how I'm gonna earn love." And so, like, to the point where I literally became a doormat. And, like, I to claw myself back from that, it's I can do embodiment and somatics until the cows come home, but to work specifically with an archetype, to work with the dark goddess, to work with archetypes like Lilith and Hecate and Persephone and Kali, to work with those energies as models of like, oh, these are examples, these are myths that are so deeply like baked into incredible cultures that have been fine-tuned for centuries. And also for the people who work with those archetypes and deities as real deities, I respect you. I'm coming at it from like a Jungian perspective, and please don't get mad that I look at cultures all over the world. Too, because I'm just like, "Oh my god, these myths are so rich, there's so much wisdom and, like, the stories."
And there's
Anyway,
so much teaching and learning and crossover across cultures. We see
yeah,
the same teachings and learnings and archetypes across cultures
yeah,
for a reason. They're a part
yes,
of this. They're a part of this.
yeah, and so, like, in working with specifically the biggest one for me has been Lilith, Adam's first wife, fun fact, everybody's forgotten about her, convenient, um,
She has been demonized.
literally, that's why, like, I think this to me it's a part of embodiment that's so beyond somatics, but, like, my work, my journey would not have been complete if I didn't come out of staying in the very tangible sensing realms and step into working with these examples of feminine energies that carry so much power, that carry destruction, that carry chaos, that carry like sexuality that like terrifies the world, to be able to use them as models of like, oh, that's what it can feel like to be so free.
And
That's
again, we're coming from our hearts, right?
yeah,
In a like, imagine this. Imagine
yeah,
everything Leona just said, like, woven and intertwined with, like, love.
yeah,
What would that
yeah.
power feel like?
Mhm. Yeah, so I think that's like a big piece of I feel like we're dancing around the dark goddess a little bit because there's so much to like explain about her because we're terrified. We're confused. We have like a lot of wild ideas, and that's she's not any of those. So bear with us as we kind of get to like what the dark like goddess really is as we like it's like a bunch of blind men touching an elephant. And you're like, this is what the tail feels like. This is what the trunk, oh, and the leg, oh, and the ear. And then like eventually you'll get a whole complete picture of her.
I love it. And I wanna say, like, she is uncontained.
She
She
is.
is wild. She
Yeah.
is raw and primal, and so
Yeah.
we're going back to, I think, what we touched on last episode too, of we can try to intellectualize and explain and cognitively understand something,
Yeah.
but at its truth, it's a felt knowing.
Yeah.
There's the reason why we can't define love, right? It's a
Mm,
felt knowing.
yeah.
Same thing with the dark goddess.
Ugh, every time you say just the dark goddess, I'm like, yes.
So the other piece that's coming to mind now that we haven't touched on yet is, like, emotions themselves,
Mm,
and it makes me think about, like, grief work and
mm,
sacred rage and
mhm,
loneliness or this feeling of, like, unworthiness,
mhm.
like, think about, like, the friend who, when you come to them with this maybe grief, they come in and say, "It's gonna be okay,"
You don't
or,
have to feel that.
"But
Let's
think of this
focus on the
silver
positive.
lining." Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, how does that feel, right? Like, doesn't feel great, and it really just makes you bypass or repress or escape in some way, versus someone that comes in and you express this thing and they're like, "Fuck, I can't believe it. I am here for you. I am not getting up." Like, sob onto my shoulder, rage into the air around you, like, "I am
Yeah.
standing here with you." That is the dark goddess. She is not afraid of your grief, of your sadness, of your rage, of your low self-esteem or self-betrayal or whatever. She's like, "No, I am here with you, and we are gonna do this together."
Yeah. Whew. And just to zoom out, like, yes, everything that Anna said, and you're probably hearing there are, like, these 2 ways of working with the dark goddess, and one is as a model and you embodying the dark goddess, and then there's dark goddess as, like, teacher and guide outside of you, and you are bringing things to her, and, like, this can be in, like, a shamanic meditation, journeying, this can be journaling, this can be an internal conversation, this can be an embodiment practice. But the dark goddess holds this teaches us that the parts of the human psyche that we are terrified of have a nugget of love inside of them. That everything you feel is at its core love. And that, like, we all know the feeling of being terrified of something inside of us, like, terrified of how much we desire, terrified of something we want, terrified of a grief that's gonna swallow us whole, terrified of a rage that makes steam come out of our ears, and we think we're gonna just rip everyone we love to shreds. Terrified of a feeling of fear, like, "Oh my god, fear is the most terrifying emotion, to be really lost in fear." And I feel like the dark goddess, through their myths and through their embodiment and through their guidance, through their presence, can be this feeling of like, oh, I don't wanna say transmute it because, like, it doesn't mean that you stop feeling grief, fear, rage, shame, overwhelm. You don't stop feeling any of those, but you learn that they're at the core of it, there's, like, this beautiful love, and you can work with every single one of those emotions, and you don't have to run away from it, and in fact, like, maybe you learn to wield your rage for a sacred purpose. Maybe you learn to wield your rage like a sacred activist who fights for the children of Gaza, who fights against climate change, who fights for the children in the Congo. Like maybe your rage becomes like generative. Maybe
It's a
you,
fuel, it's a power.
yes,
How can it come out not distorted, but come out in alignment with love, in alignment with creating something on this earth?
yeah, in alignment with the planet that you want to exist. Because what is it like? Well behaved women never made history. There's a quote.
Uh-huh, uh-huh.
I Eleanor Roosevelt. I don't know if that's true, it's just coming to mind. But it's like this is the dark goddess not only is so healing for those of us who have spent so much time thinking that there are parts of ourselves that we cannot express because no one can love us, and we need to be more civilized, we need to be more contained, we need to be more soft-spoken, we need to be less desirous, less sexual, less wild, less like laughing. Like we just need to be smaller so it can be so healing on such a personal level to be like, oh my God, like Lilith, Medusa, Kali, what you can teach me. And then it can be transformative for the world around you, for the relationships around you. Like, even as Anna was saying, just for you to be able to sit in grief with your friend. Like, the dark goddess taught me how to do that.
Yeah,
Dark goddess taught me how to not run away from the things that people I was loving were feeling. She taught me to not crumble when someone was mad. She taught me how to sit beside someone in incredible shame,
yeah,
depression, self-loathing, all of these things, and then zoom out and like society needs this energy. Society needs people who aren't so worried about making everyone around them comfortable, are rooted into what really fucking matters, into that mama bear, I will do what it takes and I do not give a fuck what you think
yeah,
energy.
yeah, yeah. There it is. Yes, yes, yes. Everyone, stop betraying your path. Stop betraying your needs, your desires, your authentic expressions of self.
Mhm.
What would happen if this world allowed that of others?
Mhm. And again, like not in a toxic way, like, we're not
We're aligned with love here, right?
and that part is so hard to get through your head, like, when
Yes.
you start doing this work and when you touch a part of yourself. Let me think of an example. Um, I I obviously have so many examples that I can't think of one, so they're just all swirling around my head.
There it is.
But, like, I was, I would say, like, Lilith. I've talked about Lilith before, and Lilith kind of, can guide women through this, like, feminine liberation, demanding equality, demanding respect from the masculine, and being in full fucking sovereignty. And, like, the path with Lilith, starts as just often for women, like being a bit of a doormat to the men and the male energies in her life. And it doesn't like, I wouldn't actually say I was ever a doormat to men, but I was a doormat to male energies. And like, what do I mean by that? I was a doormat to like this productive hustle and grind, work hard. Like my body was the doormat to my mind that was like, you need to get more work done. You need to be pushing harder. You need to have less needs and desires from me. And so my internal feminine was a doormat to my internal masculine. And then you moving into Lilith, you have to realize you have to learn how to like take the anger and the rage of that repression, that suppression, that oppression. Don't know the difference between all those words, but learn how to take the rage of that and channel it for good. And every one of us will have a moment where we fuck that up, where we don't understand how to use the rage, the grief, the fear, the sexuality. It's all of these things that society is afraid of, all of these things that society is demonized. We're not sure how to use it in a way that is generative. We're not sure how to use it in a way that creates more love, more trust, more liberation, more truth in the world. And so, like, you will fuck it up, but then you
Stage
practice.
2.
Stage 2. There's stage
Distorted.
1, dormant. And again, this is from Sabrina Lynn, Rewilding for Women. Rewilding, not just for women anymore. Stage 1, dormant. Stage 2 is developing or distorted, because sometimes it's pretty distorted. And stage 3 is divine, when, like, you know how to wield that sword of no fucking way, that, like, bullshit cutter, and you know how to wield it cleanly, and you know how to wield it from love, and you're like, "This will not happen. This is unacceptable, and I'm not allowing it to happen," and you're no longer spewing venom and bile on people, and they can feel your love in it, but you're like, in the case of Lilith, like, the feminine, the parts of ourselves that are soft and feeling and sensitive and sensual will not live below the parts of ourselves that are goal oriented, that are productive, that are structured. That is not the natural nature of this. And it's not because I hate the masculine, the male, the productive. Like, thank God I have an internal masculine. Thank God there are structures in the world that are keeping all of this from falling into chaos. So I'm not just hating it, but I'm like, those 2 things aren't gonna be there's not gonna be a hierarchy there.
There's a
There
balance.
there's a balance, and that it's
Yeah,
still
this, like,
rage.
yin and yang symbol is that balance, right? Where, like, it's a circle of wholeness, and there's this, like, swirling line of the 2 seemingly separate, and yet there's these 2 dots inside of each of them, of the
Yeah.
other. They are not actually separate, but together in wholeness.
Yeah, and let me tell you, it's a wild ride, like, and Anna knows, and I hope Anna will share her own examples when I'm done talking, but but, like, it is a wild ride for you to slowly undo the idea that everything you've taught to hide is actually a source of incredible power and potential and love and pleasure. Like, you get to it in
Aliveness.
aliveness. You get to be free. You get to be everything that you wanna be. You get to feel everything that you wanna feel. Like, that's what's on the other side, and it's a hell of a ride.
Yeah.
Very much still in the middle of that ride, let me tell you. but it's so worth it. Okay, run out of steam.
So good, Leona. There it is. Yeah. Okay, something that I was thinking of was bringing it back to, like, embodiment practice.
Yes.
So what do we mean by this? Or, like,
Mm.
how can someone work with this? A, stay tuned for our courses, but in the meantime, B, um, the question is, what or how I've worked with it a lot is how would my body express this thing?
Mm.
So what do I mean by that? We're using wild. Let's use the word wild. Untamed, raw, instinctual, whatever. Wild, wildness. Um, if I were to like stand up right now and ask like my shoulders and my chest, how would you move? How would I move my shoulders and chest in a wild way? How would I move my belly and my hips? How would I move my neck and my hands? What would my face do? And there's like a million different flavors of wild, right?
Mhm.
What they do. And the thing that a lot of us will notice, depending on where you are in the spectrum, is we can't move in those ways. And
Yes. Yeah, we can't move or it's, incredibly performative. Like,
yes,
it's not deeply rooted, it's a performance, we think we're doing it right, but, like, you
yes,
can tell you're like, you don't feel wild, you feel like you're acting out wild.
yeah, you're not being wild, you're performing wild.
Yeah.
Yes, and or, like, especially with, like, sound or self-expression, this is the one that I really struggle with, and, like, most of my clients struggle with if we're doing, like, sounding somatic practices, they're like, "That feels really uncomfortable."
Yeah.
What would it feel like to growl? Right. Right? What would it how would you
You startled Luna.
what would it yeah, and so we see it in little kids. That's a good one that I like to say with people, like, "Okay, try to imagine, try to channel your inner four-year-old." If you were like a four-year-old and someone said to you, "This is your chance. We're in, like, a padded room. Go wild." How would you move your body? What would happen? How would you sound? How would you breathe? What would your feet be doing? What would your arms be doing? Um, and again, we're gonna notice as adults, a lot of time we can't do this.
Yeah.
And this really shows, like, just how powerful a belief system is and how
Mhm.
powerful these repressing these parts of self is then, um, enacted by our bodies. Like,
Mhm.
we literally can't move in these ways if we
Mhm.
have these belief systems repressing these parts of self. And, like,
Mhm.
go try it. And, like, a lot of us can, a lot of us can't. It depends on the person. Um, but so for me, it's okay. What's another word here? Uh,
Oh, instead of wild?
yes.
Um, I would say, like I'm thinking, like, medicine woman, witchy, like,
Mhm.
witchy.
Witchy. Well, there's a word that triggers a lot of people.
Yeah.
Again, right? The witch burnings weren't
Mm.
that long ago.
Mhm.
And again, this is like a great example of how culturally we've been conditioned to associate um, bad and evil with this
Mhm.
archetype.
Mhm.
With the medicine woman, it's amazing how, midwife I won't go down this road. Which
Immediately mad. Yeah, yeah.
my sacred rage is boiling.
Yeah.
Witchy, yeah, I love it. Like, how would you and again, like, imagine if you more like stir a cauldron or like pull out the spices and how would your body move?
Speaking tongues.
Ooh, what sounds would you make? And again, notice, like, how much discomfort comes up at this idea. Like, this
Mhm.
is a key indicator that these parts of of self, that these, strings of consciousness have been repressed, have been demonized, have been told,
Mhm.
"You don't belong, you're not safe, you're not worthy."
Mhm.
And this
And
the effects are sorry, yeah.
again, like, we all have every single one of these strings of consciousness. We all have wild woman, we all have medicine woman, witch, chaos monkey, whatever. Generally, most of us have some that we lean towards, so, like, witchy may never be your flavor, but, like, it not being your flavor is very different to it being actively repressed in your system, and, like,
Yes.
if you start to feel really hot, if you start to feel really mad that we're even, like, suggesting you do this, if you start feeling afraid, all of that is your nervous system going, "Warning," because you are deep.
Indicator.
Yeah, yeah, indicator, there is something here. Like, this is not just that it's not your flavor. This is like, "Oh,
Resistance.
this is buried." Like, I feel unsafe, so I wanna fight or run away.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. And it's like those are things worth following. Those are things worth getting curious about. Those are things
Yeah,
worth exploring with love, with gentleness, with curiosity.
yeah, yeah, and I like this Chaos Monkey made me think of Harlequin, who's, like, one of my favorite villains of all time, and, like, she's not a deity. But, like, she is a dark feminine archetype, 100%, like, just chaos monkey. I can't put it any better than that. And so, like, you can even work with that energy. Like, I have a playlist that is my Harlequin playlist that, like, ooh, I love the feeling of just being, like, on the edge of insanity and just giving so few shits about, like, what the people around me need and want from me because I was raised to be, like, incredibly responsible. So it's like, it is so nourishing for my soul to bring this energy out and to get, like, just
There
and, like,
it is.
my boyfriend loves it. Like, it's also this crazy thing where and he's, like, pretty tapped in and tuned in, but he can immediately tell, like, "Oh, this is a real part of Leona that she keeps on lock," but it sets him free. Like, by liberating that energy in myself, I create permission for everyone around me to be more true, to be more wild, to be more free, to be more chaotic, to be more yeah, whatever insanity Harlequin is. And, like, that opens his heart. Like, that li like, me being insane opens his heart, and that's, like, just another level of the magic of working with these dark archetypes, working with these misunderstood, demonized it doesn't have to be a deity, but, like, maybe it's, like, Catwoman? That's a thing, right?
Yeah.
Catwoman, poison ivy, like or just, like, the idea of witch, the idea of medicine woman, like, sorceress, like, ooh, maybe that just opens something for you. Seductress. Oh, let's bring in something demonized, women's sexuality, and being
Ooh.
able to use that sexuality as, like, a power. But, like, what if you're not just using it to get what you want? What if you're using it to make the world a better place?
Yeah. And this is, like, again, that perfect example of, like, distorted use versus divine use.
Yeah.
How can I seduce the person in front of me to connect with the truth within them,
Yes.
with the justice,
Mm,
with integrity, with
yeah.
evolution, with truth?
Mhm. Mhm. Oh, it's so good. Like, that's like, the dark goddess to me just feels like liberation. Like, it doesn't it that's the word that comes up is just like,
Freedom.
yeah, what if I instead of deciding certain parts of me were bad, I was like, "I'm gonna figure out how to set this part free and channel it for good." So, like, it's free, it's out there, it's not something I'm constantly trying to keep a lid on and exhausted from doing so. Like, I get to be fully me. That doesn't mean that I'm a raging bitch, but it means I'm fully me.
Yes, yes, and so this is us, like, giving all of you permission right now
Mm,
to be loud, to be expressive, to speak
mhm,
your truth unapologetically, to
mhm.
what do I wanna say? To be chaotic.
to be a little chaotic, to be audacious. That was your word,
Oh,
remember?
I remember. I'm still working with it. May I have the audacity. This was my, like, dark goddess reclamation. May I have the audacity, and again, not in a distorted way, but in a divine way, and so in this sense, may I have the audacity when there is a misuse of power, when there is harm, when there is domination or control, when I'm witnessing injustice in front of me, may I have the audacity to say the thing. And it's not going to be oh, excuse me, I don't think you should be doing that right now. That's not very just, right? It's going to be like, what the fuck do you think you're doing? Right? Maybe. But,
Internally, it will be that.
we're still learning. We're still learning.
We're
How
in the
do I bring my,
developing phase.
huh?
We're in the developing phase,
We're in the developing
always.
phase. We're very much in the developing phase. May have the audacity as an edge for me. But that's it. May I have the
Yeah.
audacity? Because how many times have I witnessed injustice? How many times have I witnessed a misuse of power? How many times have I witnessed someone saying something to someone else that was, like, just really not okay and
Ooh.
stayed silent? And stayed silent because I was afraid of being demonized, of
Mhm.
losing connection, of fill in the blank.
Mhm.
And this is like dark goddess energy is about a reclamation. It is a way to reclaim these parts of self that have
Mm.
power, that can do good in this world.
Yeah. Oh, and that's how it is the essence of the body knows, is, like, reclaiming your
Mm.
rage, your grief, whatever emotion you're feeling as fucking wise.
Yes. Yes.
And,
That's it.
like, it takes some work to figure out then how to express it. Like, you gotta go to the gym, you gotta figure out how to use that craft. Like, you don't just become an expert swordsman or an expert painter or an expert masseuse just because you have the urge to do it. But, like, that impulse of, like, this will not stand. This bullshit will not pass this line in the sand. Like, this grief will pour out of me. Like, oh, that impulse is so trustworthy. The
Yeah.
first way you wanna do it isn't always the most trustworthy idea.
It may still come out sideways because
Probably
we
will.
still haven't integrated these parts into self. It takes time, right? Do it piece by piece.
Yeah. Yeah. And so also for the men listening and maybe have a harder time connecting to the dark goddess, even though there are these energies in all of us, um, like, I just wanna say, we will obviously do a podcast at one point on the dark god, the dark masculine,
Yeah.
also fire, also incredible. Um, but I would try for everyone listening, like, not try to get too attached to the fact that it's a she, it's a feminine. And so as you're thinking, if you're listening to this podcast, digesting this podcast, thinking about how to take the wisdom of this podcast away from you, I immediately felt self-conscious that I said wisdom there. Um, like, it doesn't matter again what your body is, what your gender is, but just hearing like, "Oh, I want to be a force of liberation in the world. I want to not be afraid of uncomfortable emotions. I wanna understand that there is a seed of love inside my rage, inside my shame, inside my grief, inside my fear. There is a seed of love, and I can connect to that, and I can work from that, and I don't have to demonize the parts of myself that make me uncomfortable or society uncomfortable. There is a way of using them. There's a way of expressing them that is positive. And, like, I would argue the parts of like, the times when we are the worst versions of ourselves is because we have tried to push something down and it has gotten so twisted and so gnarly. Like, if you
Think
are
about it, like, when you put your, like, sweaty, gross socks and you leave them in the shoes and, like, you don't what happens in there, right? Things need air, things need sunlight, otherwise they fester.
they
This is what's
fester.
happening in our subconscious as well.
Yes, and if you want to understand the mechanism that, Carl Jung, he's a genius.
Yeah.
So you have to bring it out, and the best way of doing that is to put on a frickin' song and let yourself act it out in a room where you don't have to interact with another single person, and you can get that energy out. Or again, like, I lo I was talking to my boyfriend. Sorry, I keep bringing it up. I'm excited about it. Anyway, and he's also a coach, and he was working with a guy, who has struggled with addiction just like he has, and he was pulling apart, like, so what are the parts of addiction that you miss the most? Like, what are the parts of your addiction, of those crazy wild nights out that you miss the most? And he's like, the guy was like, one part is that I love people being looking at me and being like, "You're crazy. I can't believe you just did that." And he's like, "I miss being that." And so my boyfriend was recommending, he's like, find a way to express that version of yourself without consuming a bunch of substances. Like, go run an ultra marathon, like, go, I don't know, hike to the North Pole, like, go do something crazy so that you still have that impulse. You still have that impulse.
Yes, and, like, recognize that when we're only allowed to do these things when we're drunk, when we're high, when we're in this social situation, if it's conditional, it's repressed in some way. It's been banished in some way, and there's
Yeah.
work to be done there. And so how can we do this shadow work to allow these parts into the light and to be as they are? If there's a part of you that wants to, like, be crazy sometimes, it's allowed to be.
It's allowed to be. And like, you could do a lot of good with that. You could just make it epic or fun, or like, even if it's not good, like, you could have a life-changing experience doing that. Like, live that out. Don't cut off that part of yourself and then just wait for it to cause you to do something really unfortunate.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Ugh. We've all been there. Like, ugh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, and that's what's gonna happen, and that's, like, what impulsiveness, like, there's an example of, like, when something comes out sideways. There's a repressed part of self that wants something that we're not letting it have, and at some point, it's impulsive and comes out sideways and does the thing again.
Again. So, this has been a very long argument, dissertation, thesis on the dark goddess, but we like she's just so much at the basis of so much of what Anna and I do and believe in. And we know working with something called the dark goddess is not for everyone, but we would be remiss to not let everyone know that, like, this is like a foundational part of this work for us.
And this is a pathway that we've both explored and received so much from,
Yeah.
so we wanna share it as an option.
Yeah. It's just an option. Maybe it's not now. Maybe it's in 20 years when you're a wrinkly old crone and you're like, let's do this. Let's do something weird. And that works too.
I love it.
Okay, Anna, is there anything else? I'm trying to think.
I don't think so.
Yeah. If you
Going
like
on.
this episode, oh, sorry, I interrupted
Oh,
you.
no, no.
I was just going to say, if you like, we could talk about the dark goddess. We could do an entire podcast on Lilith. Persephone, oh
Mm.
my
Yes,
god, the
yes.
wisdom of Persephone, like, if you wanna work on dealing with shame, Persephone, Jesus Christ. Hecate, oh, the crone wisdom, Medusa, turning men
Mm,
to stone with a look.
mm.
There's some Kali, destroyer of ego, destroyer of worlds. Like, just let us know because we could talk about this for a very
We'll keep going. If you want us to keep going, we might keep going even if you don't.
you don't wanna see
We'd love to know if you do.
Yeah, and we will. I'm saying this now. I'm making a promise. We will do one on the dark god, the dark masculine. Because like, Pluto's Hades, Chiron, so good, so good.
Yes, yes. Okay.
Okay, I think we did it.
I think we did.
Whew, I'm hot. I'm gonna have to go take a shower after that one.
So good.
Okay, bye, y'all. Until next episode.